Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Well, today I'm going to be covering the Zabi family, and which one of them is the most evil. So which member of the Zabi family is the most evil? Bearing in mind the Zabi family is the most infamous family in the history of the Gundam franchise with their political maneuvering and plots. The Zabi family would attempt to bring all of humanity under their rule. So we can safely say the fact that most of the Zabi family, or the entire family, is evil, but evil is a spectrum. So join me today as I rank the Zabi family from the least evil to the most evil. First of all, we have Dozel Zabi. He is shown in various forms of the Gundam franchise as a loud, large, but good-natured man, whose fearsome appearance often hides his true nature, that of a good person, which is in contrast with a lot of the Zabi family. One, he didn't poison one of his closest friends for personal and political gain. At least in the original anime and the media based around the same timeline, he seems to be a good elder brother to Garma, who wanted him to do very well. And he's also said to be a loving father to his daughter, Minerva, from what little bit we see. Although his marriage to his wife was not without infidelity. The other thing is the fact that Dozel Zabi also showed a great deal of care for the soldiers under his command, often joining them on the front lines, raiding Federation forces in frontline inspections with his close personal bodyguard and personal friend Shin Matsunaga. This in turn earned Dozel Zabi the adoration of his troops, and also a great deal of respect, probably even amongst Federation forces. Although, oddly enough, there was that moment towards the end of the show where we see a shadow building up around him. It's unquite clear what that would be, but that's just one moment. But it suffice to say that I would say the fact that Dozel Zabi is the least evil of all the Zabi family. Moving up the scale, we have Garma Zabi. Once again, depending on the source, Garma Zabi is said to be a glory hound, or a highly inexperienced battlefield commander, who would jump the gun just to prove himself and pay for it in a large number of casualties at times. All of this was exacerbated by a need for personal validation, but at the same time, he's also shown to be a little bit naive, and once said to his lover the fact he would leave Zeon behind just to be with her, and then go off onto the battlefield. Suggesting most likely that, maybe like his brother, he is somewhat of a good-natured person, at least underneath, but being the youngest, and quite possibly being spoiled rotten, he does seem to fit the idea of the fact of being up the scale a little bit. Then there's the case of both Degwin and Cilia Zabi, and let's get a bit muddled. Cilia Zabi is very clever, probably a little bit manipulative, and capable of subtle political maneuvering in order to climb the political ladder. But at the same time, she was also willing to avenge the death of her father at the hands of Gihren, her eldest brother. But this seems largely motivated by revenge. And Degwin Zabi said the fact that God knows what she's planning. And that's not a direct quote, but Degwin said the fact that this certainly says the fact a lot about what she's potentially capable of. Which could mean the fact she's just as capable of doing bad things, just like Gihren. Maybe even more so. We don't really know. Or at least I don't really. She may also have... She took command of Char after Dozel Zabi got rid of him, because Char, I think, failed, and Dozel Zabi doesn't allow for room for failure. Just to, I think, the fact she could one-up Dozel, and also get the better on him in terms of the political maneuvering stakes, given the fact that Dozel most likely had the military. And she did shoot her brother in the back of the head in a move that even he didn't see coming. However, and then she would abandon a Bawa coup, telling the fort to surrender 15 minutes after she left. So it says the fact, and most likely she was going, it says a lot about how the fact she was planning to run, just so she can consolidate her power in Zeon and continue the 1-year war from side 3. Next up, we have Degwin Zabi. Now, he was very cunning at political maneuvering, allowing him to command a great deal of respect in the Side 3 independent movement and become Zeon Daikun's right-hand man. And, apparently on Zeon Daikun's deathbed, he would say for a fact that Zeon Daikun appointed him as his direct successor. He would then launch the campaign that would begin the 1-year war, proving the fact he was capable of misleading, and would turn what I assume to be a democracy into a dictatorship, with him at the centre. He would then pretty much just sit on his throne as a figurehead, signing documents and quite possibly becoming more and more apathetic as 1 year war dragged on, giving Gihren whatever funds he wanted to expand the military and allowing him to basically just sign documents. And with the death of Garma, he pretty much signed his own death warrant, giving Gihren carte blanche to use deadly nerve gas on colonies and possibly even other WMDs, and convert a space colony into a weapon to be dropped on Earth, pretty much allowing Gihren within a month to kill around about 1/2 of the human population. So as a result, he did serve as a rubber stamp for his son's crazy schemes. And then we have Gihren. No questions asked, he does seem to be the mastermind of the whole scheme, and incredibly evil, as he was the one who masterminded the Zeon genocide and Operation British. And this he tried to justify it all with a twisted logic that pretty much would suit any mad dictator who schemed and plotted genocide. And he would all do this without even a hint of empathy for any of the people killed in his schemes and crimes. He would even try and justify his motives to his father, stating that democracy is for fools, and that under dictatorship humanity can truly thrive, believing that Zeon or the Space Knights were some form of master race. And his final scheme was probably not his most evil, but probably his most craziest yet. He would often rely on high-tech weaponry, and his most craziest one was the solar ray system. Basically, he turned a giant colony into a giant laser, which his own father agreed to. He would drive the colony's people from their homes, and then he would end any chance of the Principality of Zeon would have of achieving peace and continued existence by killing his father when Degwin went to discuss peace terms with General Revel. His own father would even compare him to Adolf Hitler, one of the most infamous dictators in all of history, which says it all in terms of how evil he is. So to sum up, the least member of the Zabi family is Dozel Zabi, based on the fact that he didn't do much at all, and the genuine care and concern he had for those under his command, and just the fact that he was a loving father. He did have infidelity, but that was mainly, I think, apparently that was done to help someone climb rank in the Zeon forces. Maybe perhaps someone he owed a favour to, so says it all, really. He's willing to do whatever it takes to help those under him. Then we have Garma, who's probably the second to least evil, because of his need to validation and his wish to be seen as his own man in a family that pretty much expected greatness. Being the fact he was a glory hound, would lose his temper, a bit naive, maybe a little bit manipulative. But he's also naive and inexperienced, so can't blame him for that. But at the same time, he did cause quite a fair bit. He did carpet bomb New York City probably multiple times, even after the city had been flattened, killing survivors. And under his command, Zeon soldiers would go off doing quite a fair bit of looting, pillaging, and everything else along the way. Then there's the cunning and clever Cilia, who's probably the third most evil out of all of this, as she was more than willing to go behind people's backs to gain power and manipulate people into becoming political puppets. Think Makuve. And she also did shoot her own brother in the back of the head in terms of revenge for the death of her father, quite possibly in cold blood, in front of everyone else, and then say the fact she was stand trial for the crime, when in reality I don't think she intended to do so, and quite possibly would use the powers of the Office of Sovereign to pop. And she also did plan to escape Abawaku to continue a already disastrous conflict, right up until the fighting reached Side 3, which would have only just led to more deaths. Then we have Degwin, who allegedly poisoned his close friend and ally, self-appointed himself as Zeon's own Daikon's successor, turned the Principality of Zeon from a free republic, at least what assumed to be a free republic, into a dictatorship with him at the head, and then rubber-stamped a whole host of Zeon war crimes, and perhaps even reject an offer of peace, just to the fact he could gain even more power. And he also did put the Federation and Zeon onto the path to war that will continue to escalate from that point on. And finally, the most evil member of the Zabi family is the arrogant mastermind Gihren, because of his seeming inability to realise that he's killing millions of people without a hint of remorse or guilt, and just in general having a good old time of, and also just because the fact he was compared to Adolf Hitler by his own father, which says it all, because he did believe that the Space Knights were a master race, And he would even say the fact that God is on our side. Classic words at his own brother's funeral. And would lead millions to their deaths. And that's who I think how evil each member of the Zabi family is, from least to most evil. And just one more note. I would just like to thank and give a shout out to the folks at Q Alliance. Thanks for creating a support environment for us and the neurodiverse community. Thanks for all the support and help you've given up until now, and I hope for a fact that things go well. Thanks, Q Alliance. Thanks for the help. Thanks for watching. Who do you think is the evilest villain in the history of the Gundam franchise? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio!